All right. Let's do the Tarkov topic. Last week, Luke accidentally on purpose leaked the upcoming video from GOAT. You did it on purpose.
You did it.
Well, I didn't even know. How can I leak what I don't know? Luke accidentally on purpose leaked
is not fair.
the concept
This is
of a video
history.
from creator GOAT, big Tarkov creator, who cheated in the game in order to expose cheating. The summary is that GOAT basically went, I feel like a lot of people are cheating, but because there's no playback, there's no kill cam, nothing like that, no match replay, I have no way of proving this. So the way to do it could be to cheat myself and see if I can identify other cheaters that way. When he got immersed into the cheater community, he found that there was an old way of identifying friendlies that's not really in use in the game anymore by regular players, but is still in use by cheaters, where one goes like that and the other goes like that to indicate, hey, bruh, we're on the same side. Now, the way that the thing that made it so obvious that it was always cheaters using this wiggle was that people would be doing it from clear across the map with trees and buildings and mountains in between them, and would be looking like right at each other, because some of the cheats would actually tell you if someone had their crosshair on you. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ones. The one that he used in the video was like one of the easiest ones that you can get, and it's been undetected for like years. So that's the reason why he went that route. So it wasn't super sophisticated, but you could see exactly where people were aiming, and you could see people through walls. You could see what they had in their inventory. You could see everything. He also figured out after the video that people that have the more advanced cheats, it's all on a separate monitor. So it's a separate computer, so it's even less detectable. So they don't see the wireframe through the wall. So it's not really a wall hack in that way, but they have the radar on a side monitor. So they do a different form of wiggle, which he wasn't even doing in the video. So there's probably a higher percentage of hackers, which is where, because they can see where people are aiming, it like draws a line out from everyone's character. They sweep, so they look left and right. So they like sweep their aimer line over you. So that's like, they do kind of like a map wiggle instead of a leading wiggle. So there's probably even more than he thought.
The problem with all of this is that the game is so realism focused, and cheating changes the dynamic so much that essentially this video GOAT has single-handedly destroyed the community.
Dropped an absolute bomb
for this game. I mean, I haven't been paying close attention to it. I've seen a little bit of the fallout, but can you kind of catch me up here on what's been going on?
Yeah, so first off, I hadn't seen the video before it got released.
Right.
And he did an interview with me, which I thought he might use maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes of. He used the whole thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like the second half of the video is just him and I
So
talking.
really, you even bringing this up in the first place was pure self-promotion.
Apparently, yeah.
Typical.
I think that was probably the wrong move. And he has said a bunch of times, like if he knew it was going to blow up this much, he would have spent more time working on the video, etc. But
yeah, it's got like 1.5 million views now.
It's massive. For a Tarkov video, that's like unheard of. But that does mean that he's going to have some follow-ups to try to keep pushing on this topic. And he's like had a bunch of people reach out, including people from the Valorant anti-cheat Vanguard, that have talked to him, because an interesting thing that we brought up on the last show is that you can't have Valorant installed and cheat in Tarkov, because Valorant's Vanguard anti-cheat will detect it and stop you, which is hilarious. So people from there have reached out, and he's going to have some follow-up videos, which should be really good. But the immediate aftermath of us like leaking it and then him launching that video was just...
Us leaking.
Us. Yeah, it was actually you. Was absolute insanity. First off, people were spam posting it on the Escape from Tarkov Reddit, but that Reddit doesn't allow like cheater POV videos, which kind of makes sense. So they were mass deleting all the posts. But people were like, this is very topical. This isn't like someone advertising cheats. This post should be allowed. So there was this gigantic war. There's a way on Reddit. I think it's not technically on Reddit. It's an external website, but you can see what posts have been deleted by moderators.
Oh,
and if you went on
I didn't know that, actually.
Just,
I'm not a big Reddit user.
I think it's I didn't know either. I think it's an external site. Someone linked it to me.
Wonderful community, though. Not toxic at all.
It was just walls and walls and walls and walls and walls of deleted posts because all these people are trying to force it in and the moderators are trying to force it back. And it was just this crazy war. Eventually, the way that people found kind of a loophole to make sure that the post could go up there was they took the clip from the WAN show of us talking about it because we didn't have any of the footage. We were just talking about the video.
So we weren't showing cheats.
Yeah. So they posted that, and then the moderators saw that and realized they couldn't really remove it, so they just blocked all comments on the post. So they locked the post but let it sit there. So our WAN show clip was top of that Reddit for quite a while, and then eventually the war just never stopped. People kept posting this video, so eventually they unblocked the first one that came in and then pinned it, but I think they still locked the comments on it.
Yeah.
And they had to make an official announcement about it and everything. I have never personally seen a subreddit that on fire ever.
Really? Have you hung out in the r/Linus Tech Tips one?
Yes, actually, even considering stuff that happens in there, I've never seen a subreddit that on fire. It was crazy. And then immediately after it starts getting spammed on Reddit, people start spamming Tarkov creators that are currently streaming the game, the video, trying to get them to watch it.
Right.
So these people had no primer. They had no warning of what it was. Just their whole community is watch this thing.
Watch this thing. Go, go, go,
and then they
go.
have to start reacting to it live, and that was brutal because a lot of these people, especially if they're Tarkov creators, they know there's a lot of cheating in the game.
Yeah.
But they haven't seen it from a cheater's perspective, and they don't know quite necessarily how bad it is. They might have a pretty accurate assumption of how bad it is.
Yes.
But they've never actually seen it, right? So some of the reactions were pretty brutal. A bunch of creators were very negative about the video existing at all, and very anti-GOAT at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then the community reaction to that was really negative. So then the community's really aggro against all these creators, and then some of the creators start kind of flipping back.
Now here's something I did see. My understanding is that there's some kind of tier of participation within the Tarkov community where people get perks directly from Battlestate games that are, and I mean, you'll have to correct me if my understanding is not right here, because I'm not super into Tarkov. I've only played it a handful of times with him and Joe. But my understanding is that on a fairly regular basis, they get a lot of ammo and equipment, they get these packs or these drops that are quite valuable, and that while they aren't a bribe, could potentially put them in a position where they want to retain their community liaison role in order to continue getting perks. So there might be an incentive in the community to kind of sweep under the rug anything that paints Battlestate games in a negative light. Is that a fair understanding of the situation?
So this is only something that I've actually even heard about recently, because I just play Tarkov with Joe.
Right. So you've never really engaged in the community in that way.
I don't really use Reddit that often. I would never really go on the subreddit. I don't really care. I just played the game, right? But very recently, before this broke, I heard about that system. Yeah. And I do know that some creators have some very weird levels of insight into what's going on at BSG.
Yeah.
To the point where there was a post somewhat recently where they were talking about how certain creators were influencing the dev pipeline directly and meeting with developers directly, which is
fine, actually
quite cool,
but it needs to be transparent as well.
Yeah. And in some ways it is totally. Some of them will say oh, I'm I don't know what they're called, because again, I have never really cared.
Yeah.
But they're oh, I'm a whatever.
Sherpas.
Sherpas. Okay, so Sherpas is slightly different.
Okay.
As far as my understanding goes, Sherpas are supposed to be people who like help other people learn Tarkov. So that's where some of the direct items came from. I don't know if the other people.
That's what I think I was talking about.
So I don't know if the Sherpas. Maybe they do. I don't know a lot about this.
Emissary and Sherpa is what
Emissary is the other one.
W22 Brown is saying in Floatplane chat.
So Emissary is where they have like direct contact with BSG.
Got it. Okay.
Sherpa is, I don't know what level of contact they have with BSG.
Either way,
they help new players.
What we know is that Battlestate Games is in communication with some members of the community, and that it's not always clear who is or isn't getting influence over the development process and who is or isn't getting perks.
Or to what degree.
Right.
But
there's an incentive, certainly, for some members of the community to downplay the impact of this cheating and keep the gravy train rolling.
Maybe even if they're not in contact with BSG, and maybe even if they don't receive these.
Well, sure. I mean, it's kind of like the way that Apple engages with the press, right? They don't explicitly say, look, you're not allowed to talk about Hackintosh. You're not allowed to criticize this, and don't talk about this. But everybody knows, and everybody plays the game.
You get cut off.
Or it's less that you get cut off and more that you will never get the call in the first place. Apple's engagement, in many cases, has nothing to do with how many views you're likely to get. I mean, we'll get more views on an iPhone video than 90% of the people they seed an iPhone to.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with that. But we're not stylish enough. I, in particular, am not cool enough to be the kind of press outlet that Apple would want to engage with, even if I was super positive about the products, because I have been at times. But I'm also a loose cannon. They know that they can't rely on me to be nice about it.
You might talk about their products while walking in the rain.
I just might. So I could see it being very much that way, where there's an unspoken, here's what's okay to talk about, here's what's okay to emphasize, and these are all no-nos.
So, and I don't necessarily know that stuff is happening, but it makes sense that it might be with some of them.
Yep.
There's also other stuff where for some creators of any kind, realistically, if you are tied to one thing, if you are a Tarkov creator and that's it. If you are a X creator, if you are a Y creator, if you're tied to one thing and that thing is under attack,
even
subconsciously, with no direct contact, with no direct benefit,
I mean, look at what happened to
your job.
Look at what happened to Ninja when Fortnite became less culturally relevant. Just it's like 1-to-1.
And I'm sure they had communication, but even if they didn't, if there was a complete gap between Ninja and Fortnite going down is going to bother Ninja.
Yeah,
whether he knows or not. And it doesn't matter. The name of the person doesn't matter, and the subject doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If tech becomes less
YouTuber,
relevant,
and I have to pivot,
it's bad for us.
Yeah, and even if ultimately we survive and we kind of go, okay, we're going all in on channel super fun.
Yikes!
That's still a lot of work. That's still a lot of stress. That's still something that
and risk
would be terrifying compared to, I'll just let's do Laserdisc retrospective. Okay, yeah, let's go tech. We should do a Laserdisc retrospective. Anyway,
so that's why the creators almost getting ambushed with this while they were live, with no ability to watch it beforehand and collect their thoughts and figure it out, I think is part of the reason why the initial reaction was so strong. Because it might be subconscious, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, this sucks. This sucks for a lot of reasons.
And I'm angry. And
And
they should be.
And that comes across as hate for the video or hate for GOAT.
Sure.
When realistically, they're just incredibly frustrated and also live, and maybe it wasn't channeled properly. So now that people have kind of cooled off a little bit, they've had some time to think about it more and stuff, the community is much more
Floatplane chat is giving us some interesting stuff here. Harry009 says, Axel did a poll about the video and 41% of respondents said they were planning to leave Tarkov as a result. Here's one thing I will say to that, though, is if that degree of rampant cheating is making it so you don't want to play Tarkov, I got some bad news for you.
For almost any shooter.
Yeah, because just about any game, probably not any better.
Multiplayer. Yeah.
I think that in Tarkov, cheating tilts the scales
impact is
maybe more
Yeah.
than some other games. Like if I'm playing like a team-based shooter, really good tactics, you could probably take down one cheater depending on the degree to which they are cheating. Like an aimbot is not enough, in something like an Overwatch. But what does
on the other end of the spectrum, a ability to see through walls without any aimbot or anything in Tarkov is way more than enough.
Yes,
Where
that's true.
It's like not enough in Overwatch.
Yes.
And like in Team Fortress 2, so what? They can see through walls?
Yeah,
Unless
it's like
they
you
can,
basically know where everyone's going to be anyway.
Yeah, unless they can see invisible scouts or unless they have an aimbot, but then usually you can tell if they have an aimbot. Spies, sorry.
Yep,
Yeah. Usually you can tell if someone has an aimbot and then you just leave the server, whatever. Like
Exactly.
It's totally different levels of impact.
So that's true. But okay, let me kind of pitch this question to you. What does this revelation mean for the future of gaming in general? Okay, multiplayer, is it fair for me to say that it's less fun than it was years ago?
It feels like it. I don't know if that's because of the type of...
Are you getting old?
Yeah.
Is gaming changing?
Sure.
Or is it that rampant cheating is not fun?
Because cheating was a thing when we were growing up.
Sure.
But it was way harder.
Yeah.
Like now I believe Goat said 5 minutes. He Googled it, and then within 5 minutes he had it running.
Yeah, because you can just pay for it. You can basically hire a service that will get you up and running.
And they have like weekend sales and all that. It's a full-fledged business. It's not like weird, sketchy forums anymore.
Okay, so multiplayer. Okay, single player. I mean, probably the only notable... Okay, I'm trying to think. Notable single-player experiences that have come out for PC in the last little while. Okay, we've got your Stray. We've got It, which must not be named.
Yeah.
We've got...
Other It, which must not be named. There's two of them.
Sure, yeah. The other one, single-player has, outside of major blockbuster releases or your odd kind of low-budget or indie breakout, has just been ravaged by unprofitability because...
How many years ago was Fallout 4?
Yeah.
It's been 12 years since the last Elder Scrolls game.
And it's not like... It's one of those things where we can point at it and say, well, it's because of the proliferation of mobile gaming, for example, or like gacha or like pay to win strategies from game developers. But a big part of that, I think a lot of game developers are more passionate about creating better, more enriching gaming experiences. And I think it's pretty obvious that with single player games where there is absolutely no online verification and no incentive to pay for it, if you can just play the exact same experience by yourself for nothing, I think it's pretty clear that they're more prone to piracy.
Yeah.
So what's going to be left?
I don't know. Some people
when the
brought
dust settles,
Elden Ring. Like there's definitely some other games, but it's,
that was last year though. Come on.
It's been a bit.
And I don't mean I don't mean last year like it was 64 days ago or whatever. I mean, that was a long time ago now.
I think it was beginning of last year, wasn't it? Wasn't it genuinely almost a year ago? I think it was February.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Angry Birds. Angry Birds will be the last game standing.
Yeah, it's rough. I think when this first happened, so on the last show, I brought up wanting a replay system. And I still want a replay system. But...
Like in Tarkov, coming back to Tarkov. Yeah. I mean, it helps at least.
Yes, so that's...
But with Tarkov, the consequences of dying are so much higher that if anything, I would think a replay system would push more people to quit the game, which is probably why they haven't done it. In Team Fortress 2...
Oh, because you see the cheaters or what?
Yeah, if you see someone who's cheating and obviously their mouse cursor whipped over to you and they freaking headshot you as you barely come around a corner, obviously you're mad, but it's like, I'm going to switch class. I'm going to sneak up on them. Gotcha.
There's like certain things Tarkov, that you could do.
You could lose $100, like real world dollars worth of gear in one instance. And it's not like you could get it back.
And considering the amount of real money trading going on in Tarkov, that might actually be very true.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what the values are, but so there's some ideas behind the replay system and how you could get the gear back. One of them is if you replay and watch a cheater kill you and you report them, and then that cheater gets banned, your gear from that raid could get returned to you.
Okay.
So there's some ideas to make it a little bit more amicable. My thing that I've more landed on now is I just think people need to care a lot more about anti-cheat, and it needs to be more important, and the approach that companies take to it need to be more like multi-pronged. And I think that's the main reason why I want a replay system, is so that like we can help. Like I like the idea of the community being able to have, because right now in Tarkov, and I think I brought this up last week, say you're approaching a building and you hear someone inside and then you just randomly die.
Yeah.
You might think like, oh, that guy's cheating. He shot me through the wall or whatever. Maybe it was someone on a hill 400 meters away that just shot you. You have no idea. So if you can watch a replay system, it might get rid of a bunch of junk reports of people that aren't cheating.
Yeah.
So that whatever developer, whether it's BSG or some other
really
game,
focus on the real problems.
Can focus on the real stuff.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to solve the problem. I don't think it's some magic bullet.
And I think
it would help.
In Tarkov, rather than invest, I think it actually, obviously you want to invest a little bit in actual, background process, anti-cheat or whatever else. But because so much of the value of an account is tied up in the items that account holds, I could actually see banning players as being extremely effective to reduce cheating if you have the tools like replays that will allow the community to root these people out.
I think it would help.
Like losing hundreds of dollars, and if they can figure out a system where they serialize essentially, guns and other equipment, so that they can see the path that it's following, and basically just go like, yeah, look, we're gonna get merciless here. Social credit system. If you are trading with cheaters regularly, you will be banned.
So they've actually started doing that.
Yeah, apparently they said in an AMA they're working on a replay system as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to things they've said in AMAs in a second.
That's fair.
But what was I just going to say? Oh, right. They have started banning, and this has actually happened to a bunch of content creators, because there's this thing called viewer kits. Mm-hmm. So it's you enter a raid with nothing on you. So you enter a game with nothing on you, and you join in with a viewer, and the viewer dumps a bunch of stuff for you, but you don't know like what it's going to be, and then you pick it all up, and then usually you kill them, and then you have to survive the rest of the raid with whatever
gear they gave you.
And usually it's like pretty memey.
Sure.
Like they'll give you like one bullet and like 30 flashbangs or something, and you have to like try to figure it out. But sometimes they'll be like really baller kits. But you don't know, right? It's coming in random from a viewer. Sometimes the people giving you stuff are people who have cheated or engaged in real money trading or RMT stuff in the past, and BSG has started banning certain creators that have had that interaction happen, because they're trying to ban people that play with cheaters or people that interact with other RMT type systems and stuff. And that has gotten really muddy, because some of the creators are like, well, this whole viewer kit thing was allowed for like years, and dropping things for each other has been fine forever. So like now this is bannable.
Right.
But then we're asking them to work on getting rid of cheaters, and this is one of the ways to do it. I've even said on WAN Show, like games should start banning people that play with cheaters.
Yeah.
But then it's an issue with Tarkov, because Tarkov has those open lobbies. You've seen them.
Yeah.
And you can just invite random people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you can invite random people, they can't have that as a mechanic in the game anymore. But if you're going to ban people that play with cheaters.
Well, it's okay to play with them. Just don't take any equipment from them.
So but then that needs to be communicated and
that's going to be tough. And it's adding, I mean, if there's any community that could probably work around and do the research to figure out this kind of arcane bullshit.
Yeah. Probably fair enough. Yeah. But like, I mean,
Tarkov is the gaming equivalent of having like the most tedious job ever, as far as I can tell.
And we just do everything for him, and he still thinks that.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Like even just the inventory management, okay? So you got look at this. Okay, so you got some med pack or something that takes up 4 inventory squares, and you've got some bullet or something that's sitting in one of otherwise 4 blank inventory squares. If I take that med pack and I just drop it there, it doesn't just grab the bullet and put it in my hand and leave the med pack so that I can rearrange. It just won't put it down. And I'm sitting here going, literal, actual f***ing Diablo 1 had that quality of life mechanic where if you dropped a large item onto a space that only has one item occupying it, it'll just put the other one in your hand. Diablo 1. 1996.
Yeah. Pretty rough. So, okay. So Nikita, or the, I believe, COO and like main outward communicator from BSG, the developer behind Tarkov, has started communicating a lot since this happened. The first reach out was 6 days ago in a Reddit thread called Hackers, Cheaters, and Other Related Scum of the Earth. And
Scum, you say?
And he posts,
deplorables.
He posts a bunch of stuff, which all sounds really good, except people noticed immediately that he had made basically the exact same post not only 2 years ago, but also 3 years ago. And they were like borderline identical. Like they're so similar. And people pointed out.
Should I go to your screen right now, or
I can show the. So this is the comment that I saw. Yeah, you can show my screen. Okay. This is the comment that I saw from Listen, Liisn, who posts out the 2 years ago and 3 years ago threads. And this is the thread from Nikita or Train Fender, I don't know, that talks about the things that they're going to do for anti-cheating. Here's the 3 years ago post, which is like extremely, extremely similar. And here's this is part 2 that he posted. Part 2 is actually significantly more interesting. And he has communicated in like an AMA and a bunch of other type of stuff in ways that seem pretty good. If they actually do the stuff, and it hasn't been enough time for them to really actually do anything, right? Because like it takes time to develop stuff. So I'm not sitting here imagining that they would actually be able to act on a lot of this that quickly. They've tried doing some stuff very reactionary, but it's mostly changing like properties and parameters of different items, like things that wouldn't take that long because it hasn't been that long. But yeah, reaction to his first post was super negative, but then he's kept communicating since then and refined on things, and then it's gotten more positive, and the community's just going all over the place.
Yeah, Pyro Pinky points out that Battlestate Games needs cheaters to help fund development. Dr. Lupo apparently has a great clip on why it's happening and will keep happening. I mean, it's a very similar. If I had to guess, I haven't actually watched it yet. I haven't even read the comments under it. If I had to guess, I'd say it's very similar to the way that Valve, is really doesn't like cash sales of skins and everything else, but functionally does nothing to actually stop people from gambling on them and spending money on them.
So Tarkov,
because without cash, it's like anything. Without a cash value, it doesn't have a value. There is no actual intrinsic value to any digital item. It has to have a cash value. So as soon as you completely shut down people's ability to trade these items through some kind of marketplace, you destroy the value. Now, I don't know if Dr. Lupo makes some other different points about it, but that's a very sort of basic overview of why it is in a game developer's best interest for people to exchange real world money for skins and in-game items.
There's no other like financial trading through Tarkov, though. There's an argument that has been made that these cheaters get banned a lot. I believe Nikita made some post saying that they banned over like 4,000 cheaters just over the weekend.
Yeah, but is that like that? Well, okay, in a weekend, I guess that's a lot.
Some things to consider there is they may have made their parameters a little bit more aggressive in response to the video.
Sure.
So it may have cast a wider net, and that may have been a one-time increase. I don't really know. I haven't read all of his posts and all that kind of stuff. Again, I'm not even playing right now. So like my amount of care is not the absolute highest.
Sure.
But okay.
So it really is just about you getting more exposure for yourself in his video. I see.
No one, as far as I can tell, no one even watched that part.
And that's why you leaked it.
It should not have been in there.
No, I get it.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know it was in there. Anyways, okay, so there is technically financial reward for them if the cheaters keep buying accounts. That is technically true. Now, there's some questions as to whether people are buying them at full value, because I don't know if it's still a thing, but I know for a
gray
while
market
you could buy them. You could like VPN into a different country and buy it in that local currency, and it was way cheaper. But and then
still,
people resell those accounts
at the volume that people are buying these accounts. So
it's going to be a pretty substantial amount.
So the argument then is that they want to ban cheaters to continue to get more account purchases, but they don't want to ban them too well because they want them to be able to make more money than they're spending on accounts with Battlestate.
Because if they're cheating in order to RMT, they need to make enough money to pay for the account and make it worth their time. So this is an argument that has been made. That would be some very impressive 4D chess if they were able to balance that perfectly.
I mean, look at... It doesn't even need to be perfect, though. I don't know.
I could see it...
I don't think it's 4D chess.
I could see it being an incentive to not want to invest way too much more.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of 4D chess like min-maxing their investment into anti-cheat. I think it's more about minimizing their investment into anti-cheat.
Just focusing on other stuff.
Yeah, so the threshold is not set by whether these guys can stay profitable. That's a happy accident. The threshold is set by just account sales and real player attrition, where people are not playing the game anymore, which would hurt the value of the real money trading.
Yeah. So
right. So it's a different like formula, but we end up with the same result, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe.
Which is that they are not investing enough into anti-cheat.
I personally don't believe they're investing enough into anti-cheat. I don't think there's any way to prove or to state that that's the reason why, if that makes sense. Like we have no idea. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I think it's a very dangerous game to play if that is the game that they're playing.
Yeah.
What I suspect is they just don't find working on anti-cheat very interesting, because as far as my understanding goes, working on anti-cheat is insanely difficult.
Right.
And it's not very publicly rewarding unless something like this is going on.
Sure.
So if something like this is going on, work on anti-cheat, post your numbers, and people are going to praise you and come back to the game. But if something like this is not going on, if nobody's angry about cheaters,
then nobody's talking about anti-cheat.
And working on anti-cheat doesn't bring you any benefit to your game.
Right.
So
no revenue.
I could see it being more based on that.
Sure.
Because if there isn't, and there's a lot of problems with Tarkov. So if people aren't screaming about cheaters right now, well, you have like one of the biggest desync problems of any shooter game. Should probably work on that. You have tons of other issues that like demand work. There's lots. Tarkov is so wide scope that you could watch like any Tarkov creator, talk to anyone who plays the game, go on any forum that talks about anything, and see suggestions in every possible direction that are great. The potential backlog for this game is insane.
Right.
Like you talk about how complicated some of the systems are. They don't have to be that complicated to have the same depth.
Right.
Like gearing up before a raid is always super annoying. What if you had
You guys seem to enjoy it. It's sort of sick to watch. I feel like I'm like watching your private enjoyment time, you know? The way you guys will sit and tinker with your different bullets and your different magazines.
You got to make sure you bring the right stuff.
There's definitely a perverse pleasure there.
Okay, sure. But if you could
love
do
how much
that
you hate it,
and then like put it on a mannequin, so that if you die with your buddies, you just like grab the mannequin stuff and it just all automatically goes on your character, so you can jump back in the game.
Right.
But you could spend time setting up your stuff when you're not actively playing with your friends.
Which you definitely do enjoy.
Yeah. Then that would be great. That's a feature that has been recommended. I think that would be awesome. It would also take development time. Development time is expensive, and development time has massive opportunity costs because they could work on other stuff. So, like, I think anti-cheat is just an unattractive thing to work on when people aren't mad about it. That I think is probably more real than them like gaining money from the sales to cheaters. But I don't know. So yeah,
it blew up, and great work, Goat, on the video. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely worth a watch. It's a bit of a longer one, in no small part because there's so much of Luke talking in it, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. Here's his channel, and you can really see the impact of this, the virality of this video. 34,000 views, 1.4 million, 550,000 from 4 days ago. Oh, hey, look, it's us. Hey, nice.